Chapter 22 Brother. We quickly and quietly pressed ourselves against the wall on either side of the door as Galen stood there confused, looking around. The imp grabbed his hand and yanked him behind an overturned table. "Where is Rieger?" I asked, keeping my voice low. Lily shrugged. "That guy's a ghost," she whispered. We heard voices approaching, though we couldn't make out what they were saying. Keenan mouthed, "Infernal," and we waited. The voices drew closer, stopping just outside the doorway as Keenan listened intently, picking out words in his half-native tongue. After a brief exchange, the voices moved on, fading as they turned a corner down the path. We all exhaled in relief. "Well, that was interesting," Keenan said. "I didn't catch everything, but they're planning some kind of large-scale operation. Not all the clans are on board, so they're weeding out the weak." The imp stepped forward and hissed. "Yes, they've been fighting for some time. This world is dying, falling apart, and they want to take another. One of their leaders is from there." Lily and I exchanged uneasy glances, our stomachs sinking at the mention of him. Lily fumed. "That backstabbing, dirty, rotten, no-good, lousy, friend-killing, stinky, dumb poo-poo head," she panted after her outburst. Keenan stared at her before bursting into laughter. "Wow, did you get them all out, or are there a few more insults left in there?" She shot him a glare. "Listen, buddy," she snapped. "He is the worst of the worst. He tried to kill us, his own mother, and he helped kill his brother, our creator. There aren't enough bad words in the universe to describe him." Okay, Keenan muttered, glancing at me before turning back to her. "Please continue." She sighed. "I'm done. But brother," she added, turning to me, "he can't take our home and kill our friends." I smiled. "Don't worry, we're together again, and we've got some of the best fighters on our side." Throm gave a faint smile. "I hope it's enough," he said. Then he pulled me aside and lowered his voice. "Listen, we need to learn more. How many of them there are. How are they getting through? But first we need to get Galen back." "Agreed," I said, "but who's going with him?" Throm sighed. "I should be the one. You and Lily have a better chance of surviving anyway, and they won't trust Keenan or Rieger, especially not with the child, and certainly not with the imp." "I don't want to leave, but I can't let Galen stay in danger." "Don't worry, Uncle," I said with a reassuring smile. "We've got this." He chuckled. "Uncle," he repeated with a sigh. Then, staring blankly into the distance, he added, "You know, despite everything, raising you and being with Grom and Gam, those are some of the best years of my life. I wouldn't give anything in the world to change that." I placed a hand on his shoulder and grinned. "Then let's kill 'em all and go back to living, just the four of us." A loud crash shattered the moment, causing us to jump. We turned to see Lily smashing a table and chair, muttering, "Goodbye, furniture." I laughed. "All right, 5 of us." Throm smiled, then gave a final nod, tossed the stone to the ground, and a portal bloomed open in a swirl of light. He turned to face me and Lily. "You two better come back," he said. I smiled. "Don't worry, we'll be back in no time." "Or several hours," Lily added. "This place is huge." Keenan shook his head as he walked out the door, and Throm, Galen, and the imp stepped through the portal. 15 seconds later it fizzled out, leaving only silence behind. I stood there staring at the empty space, thinking of Galen and all the others we hadn't been able to save. I exhaled and shook my head. "Come on, bro," Lily said, watching me. I turned and she gave me a mischievous grin. "There's got to be more furniture out there, and none of it's safe." I laughed. "Yeah, you're going to single-handedly keep every furniture maker in business, with bonuses." "Wait," she said as we stepped out the door. "Do you think demons actually have furniture makers, or do they just steal everything?" I chuckled. "I have no idea, Lil." She shook her head. "Well, if they do, we've got to take them out too. No way I want them getting bonuses." I shook my head, smiling. Keenan stood in the open, eyes scanning the horizon. He raised a hand and we froze. We exchanged a glance, then carefully moved towards him. "What is it?" I asked. His voice was low. "I don't know, but the sound has changed, so has the air. Something's wrong." We moved quickly, slipping behind the rocks and making our way back to where we started, at the outcropping. "Where's Rieger?" I asked, scanning the terrain as we crept along. "No idea," Keenan said. When we reached the outcropping, we looked towards the old castle. It was completely dark. No glowing runes, nor torchlight, just stillness, silence. "I don't like this," I said. A hand suddenly touched my shoulder. I spun around, sword drawn, only to find Rieger standing there, pale and unsteady. Keenan stepped forward, catching him, eyes closing as he concentrated. What happened? I asked. Through labored breaths, Rieger rasped. I was scouting around the building when 3 Noctari and a demon stepped in front of the door and talked for a while. Then they left, so I followed them. They went down a passage that opened into a much larger area, full of demons. One of them was huge, yelling commands, fuming over something. I don't know what. He winced, nearly collapsing as he gasped for air. I caught him, steadying him. His skin was cold and clammy. Keenan glanced at me. Poison. Can you do anything for it? I asked. He nodded. I can try, but this isn't a skill I've had much cause to use. He closed his eyes, focusing on Rieger. The air grew tense as we watched, waiting to see if Keenan's magic would be enough. Rieger's breathing was shallow, his lips pale, blood dripping from his shoulder. The silence pressed in around us like pressure at the bottom of the ocean. Lily shifted uneasily, gripping her small black stone tightly. I watched helplessly as my friend struggled to breathe, his skin growing paler by the second. After what felt like forever, Keenan exhaled. Okay, I think I got it, but he needs rest. Rieger gave a weak smile. Anyway, they had some of the biggest demons I've ever seen, bigger than the ones you fought, he said, looking at me. I nodded. I know exactly how massive they could get. I tried to leave, he continued, but I spotted a gargoyle. At first I thought I imagined it moving, but I didn't. When I turned back, it stabbed me with a small blade. Must have been coated with poison. Some color returned to his face, and he managed to make a faint smile. But now there's one less gargoyle in the world. We all smiled at that. The 4 of us paused to take stock of the situation. Our team was slowly getting smaller as we lost Throm and now Rieger. We were debating whether Rieger should return on his own or if we should all go. Keenan sighed. We still don't have anything new, just confirmation of what we suspected. Agreed, I said, but knowing the world is falling apart, that makes them desperate, and desperate is dangerous. Rieger, now seated and resting against a rock, looked at us apologetically. I'm sorry, guys, I should have been more careful. Keenan smiled. Don't sweat it. How many times have you saved us from doing exactly that? Rieger gave a faint smile, closing his eyes. I think we should check out the castle, I said, but we stick together. We use one stone to send Rieger back, and the final one comes with us. Agreed, Keenan and Lily said at once. Ha, Lily smirked. Owe me a candy. Keenan frowned. Why? Lily stared at him incredulously. You don't have Owe me a candy anymore? Keenan looked at me and shrugged. I chuckled. It's a game. When 2 people say something at the same time, whoever calls it first gets a candy from the other person. Keenan shook his head. Never heard of it. Lily crossed her arms, shaking her head in mock disappointment. She turned to me. Is this world even worth saving if they've lost Owe me a candy? I laughed. Maybe not, but we're going to try anyway. Unbelievable, she muttered. Keenan helped Rieger to his feet, pulled out the stone, and threw it down, activating the portal. Rieger gave us a nod, then stepped through, disappearing into a swirling light. All right, I said, turning to Lily and Keenan. Let's stay close. No risks. They exchanged glances, then turned to me with matching looks of innocence. Who, us? They said in unison. Keenan grinned. Ha! Owe me a candy. Lily gasped at him. What? You can't do that. You don't even play the game. Well, I just did, Keenan said smugly, and you lost, so I guess that makes us even. No, that's not how it works, Lily protested. Now we both owe each other one. It doesn't cancel out. I just shook my head as we started towards the castle, their debate trailing behind me. As we slowly approached one of the entrances, the arguing faded. We fell silent and crept towards the large doors. I glanced at Keenan, who gave a small shrug, then stepped inside. The interior was a wreck. Dead demons littered the floor, their twisted forms sprawled across scorched stone. Furniture was overturned, walls blackened. Whatever happened here had been brutal. Think these were some of the ones that needed to get in line, Keenan muttered. Maybe, I said. I'm just glad they don't get along. They're hard enough to fight on their own. We picked our way through the carnage, stepping carefully over charred bodies and shattered debris. The smell of sulfur and burnt flesh clung in the air, making each breath heavy. Eventually we reached a small chamber in the back. The door was obliterated, and whatever had once been stored inside was gone. Keenan frowned. Notice anything odd? All the demons were killed the same way, clean, efficient. Whoever did this knew exactly where to strike. That doesn't make me feel any better, I said, exchanging a glance with him. Lily wandered over, letting out a dramatic sigh. And worst of all, they destroyed all the furniture. Keenan and I smiled. Tragic, I said dryly. Now you can't destroy it. Right? She said, throwing her hands in the air in exasperation. Keenan picked up a broken weapon, examined it briefly, then tossed it aside. We're not going to find much here, but at least we know their weak points now. I'll take whatever advantage we can get, I replied. He nodded. Let's move. We exited the castle, speaking in low voices as we continued our next step. I think we should check out the area where Rieger got stabbed, I suggested. Keenan hesitated. What if we're spotted? Only one way to find out, Lily said with a grin, already heading off in that direction. I smiled and followed. Keenan sighed, muttering as he trailed behind. Sure, let's do the dangerous thing, because yeah, we can just turn into dragons. Merrick scoffed. Yeah, well, they don't have me. Now quit whining and let's go. Keenan smirked, shaking his head. Got it, boss. Watch it, you little whelp, Merrick shot back. Keenan chuckled, and we continued on. We followed the path Rieger had described, passing the spot where we found Galen before reaching the tunnel. Moving cautiously, we crept through the narrow passage, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and something fouler. The deeper we went, the louder the noises became. Pounding footsteps, distant screams, metal crashing against metal, a battle. We exchanged uneasy glances, then pressed on. The tunnel curved and opened into a vast cavern, larger than anything we'd ever seen. It stretched into endless darkness, its jagged walls pulsing with a sickly glow of hellish energy. The air reeked of sulfur and decay. Towering stalactites hung like jagged teeth from the ceiling, and the uneven ground was strewn with ancient bones and rusted weapons. Along the cavern walls, enormous obsidian chains held monolithic stone pillars in place. Crimson runes pulsed across them, feeding the chamber's unnatural energy. The place was swarming with demons, thousands, maybe tens of thousands. At the far end, two massive figures barked orders. My blood ran cold as I recognized one of them, the younger brother. His once elegant celestial form was now fully corrupted. His veins glowed red, his eyes burning with malice and hatred, runes carved into his skin like a dark manuscript of evil. Beside him stood a towering demon, easily 40 or 50 feet tall. Its mere presence radiated raw, crushing power. Off to the side, 5 or 6 frost giants fought against the relentless tide of demons, while the two leaders watched and laughed. Lily stepped forward instinctively, but Keenan grabbed her arm, holding her back. We have to help them, she whispered, her voice sharp with fury. I placed a hand on her shoulder. Lil, we wouldn't survive. Tears welled in her eyes as she watched the giants fight. Valiant, but hopeless. One by one, they fell. When the last warrior dropped, the demons erupted into a deafening cheer. The massive demon raised his arms. Soon, my brothers, we will leave this world to burn and march to our next conquest. The crowd roared. Keenan leaned in, voice low. There's got to be 40,000-50,000 demons here. I nodded grimly, staring at the impossible army before us. The demon's voice echoed across the cavern. Those whelps shut us out 2,000 years ago. Now they will suffer for their arrogance. We shall inherit their world. Another roar of approval. They have grown soft. Their fortresses lie in ruins. Their greatest weapons lost to history. They squabble while we gather strength. The dwarves are warriors, yes, but few remain. Their mother is gone, and there is no sign of their so-called protectors. Lily trembled with rage. Fat chance, fatso, she muttered. I watched the younger brother. He still stood beside the massive demon, smirking, until something shifted. His expression sharpened. He tilted his head as if listening to something distant. Slowly he inhaled and then looked out across the cavern, right at us. Keenan stiffened. That's not good. We gotta go. We turned to retreat down the tunnel, only to find him standing there. The younger brother, smaller now somehow, but unmistakably blocking our path. My heart pounded. I glanced back, and he was still beside the massive demon, eyes closed. Yet there he was too, smirking in front of us. An illusion. He must be projecting himself. We now have portals anchored, the booming voice of the demon echoed behind us, still addressing the crowd. The illusion stepped forward, grinning. Well, well, what have we here? His voice was smooth, amused. Intruders? He began to circle us, his gaze like a predator sizing up his prey. Keenan drew his sword. Oh, please, the younger brother chuckled. You could no more cut the air with the blade than harm me. Put it away. Keenan hesitated, then reluctantly sheathed the weapon. Excellent, the apparition purred. Now tell me, how did you three escape the holding cells? And why wasn't I informed of our new guests? He kept pacing, eyes sharp and calculating. You smell of the old world, he mused, but we haven't brought anyone back today, so tell me. He stopped in front of Lily, smiling in a way that made my skin crawl. Did you enjoy the Frost Giant show? Lily's eyes burned with fury. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. No, don't. The younger brother's smirk widened. Oh, interesting, he said, turning to me. So you're the leader. His gaze bored into mine, piercing, invasive. Tell me, leader, he said, mockery curling in every word. Why are you here? Before I could answer, Keenan stepped in, dry and unimpressed. Well, we were looking for a vacation spot. This place seemed perfect, though the neighbors are a bit noisy. I sighed, closing my eyes and shaking my head. The brother chuckled, shifting toward Keenan. Well, well, a Noctari with a backbone and a sense of humor. That's rare. Before he could say more, another voice rang out, strong and unwavering. Listen here, you little worm. It was Merrick. His voice carried weight I'd never heard from him before, pure authority, unshakable. Your time will come to an end. Whether you succeed or fail, I swear by whatever power I have left, you will pay for what you've done. Silence fell. Even the younger brother stilled. His smile faded, and when he spoke again, the smooth honey in his voice was gone, replaced by cold, calculated hatred. I never forget a voice, the younger brother said, slowly. And unless I'm mistaken, you are Merrick. Some paladin from an order so insignificant I can't even recall its name. He stepped forward, his expression twisting with amusement. You were an obnoxious little creature the last time you graced the old world, so tell me, are you here for a preview of what's to come? His smirk widened, tone dripping with mockery. Well, I must say, I'm glad you survived all those years, old friend, if only so you can witness your precious world crumble. Don't worry, I'll make sure you have a front row seat as we tear it apart, piece by piece, and there will be nothing you can do to stop it. The air hung heavy with his words. Then Merrick laughed. His eyes narrowed. Did you find something funny, old friend? Yes, Merrick said, calm and resolute. Just that after all this time, you're still the same pompous fool. Your arrogance will be your undoing. His voice rang with confidence. So thank you. This was all I needed to hear to know that we have nothing to fear from you, little puppy. The brother's face contorted with rage. He let out a scream, his form flickering violently with raw energy, and at that Merrick sent out a pulse of power. With a crack like lightning, the illusion shattered. From deep within the cavern, a deafening roar echoed, shaking the ground. The brothers staggered in the distance, eyes blazing, screaming in fury. The cavern trembled with his wrath. Merrick said to us, unfazed, I suggest you throw that stone and take us back now, or we're dead. Good grief, Keenan muttered. I didn't wait. I grabbed the stone from my pouch and hurled it to the ground. With a rush of air and swirling light, the portal ignited.